The content of this presentation was essentially put together very much like Heather mentioned before. This is usually not our standard presentation. We usually go a little bit further in detail normally, but we felt here, based on the comments, based on the action, we want to make this your meeting. Your members have a great opportunity to ask questions, raise issues. And so just before we get there, we're just going to do a quick briefing on what we do, just to set the tone a little bit for those that are not fully aware of what GS1 is, what we are, what we stand for, and what we need to do in the supply chain. We're going to talk a little bit about commitment to small business and what we have done, what we're doing, and what we're continuing to do going forward to try and make this as best of an experience as possible for those starting into business. Then I'll turn it back to Heather, and then she can head our Q&A both verbally or through the chat process once we get to the end. All right. So to warm things up, we have a brief video, 2-minute video, a little bit, that's going to show and explain a little bit about who we are and what we do.
Who is GS1 Canada? GS1 Canada helps Canadian businesses succeed every day and everywhere around the globe. GS1 is a not-for-profit organization that develops, implements, and manages supply chain standards in multiple industries and in more than 150 countries. We provide industry with the tools, trust, and confidence they need to achieve business goals. The GS1 system of standards are built on 4 core principles, enabling industry to identify, capture, share, and use perpetually cleansed, accurate, and trusted product information. Our suite of solutions allow trading partners to speak to one another using one powerful global language of business. In the healthcare and pharmacy sector, GS1 standards help enable patient safety and improve the quality and efficiency of the healthcare system. Food service and grocery trading partners use GS1 global standards and registries to share brand certified product, marketing, and nutritional information and images. This enhances consumers' safety and confidence in the food they eat and in the stores they shop at. Today, organizations recognize that effective data management tools are critical for business success. Canadian retailers are collaborating with their general merchandise and hardlines trading partners on the use of GS1 Canada product data management services to get products onto shelves and into consumers' hands faster. These tools also enhance product recall processes and improve marketing and advertising capabilities. Global standards. Trusted data from an organization that is constantly innovating. Canadian business runs on GS1 services and business solutions.
From there is a little bit of the global message. GS1 operates in 114 different countries. What does that mean for us in Canada? I'd like to invite Michelle to talk to us a little bit about how these standards are developed, and that sometimes we're misunderstood as to what our role is and where we fit in to that supply chain. So Michelle?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alain. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I think I'll send you some gusto points after, just kidding. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. And we'll try to demystify or try to clarify some of the topic that we receive and looking forward for the Q&A question. In the meantime, we have a very short presentation here, and I'm going to try to accelerate so we have a lot more time to answer a lot of the question that some of the question was put forward again. So at the top there, we say we built by industry and for industry. I think in the short video, you saw that we are a non-for-profit organization. A lot of people think we are a for-profit organization. We are not. So the fees that we're putting forward in the marketplace are the fee that are costing us to operate as an organization. Sorry. We are, as you can see here with the 4 pillars, we are a standard organization. We have also community management. We have a big portion of our role is to educate and implement with partner. On the standard development side, there's two avenues to look at standard. There's the global standard that are developed by our global organization based on our governance model. And the governance model that we have as a global level is obviously part of the industry. So we have industry-driven board for our global organization where they develop global standard. And I'll use one of the global standard that everybody's using on the call is the barcode, or as we call it in the industry, the GTIN. There's also standards that are developed by the member organization, just like GS1 Canada. We are a member organization of GS1 Global. Those standards, again, are built by the industry for the industry. I'll give you an example. We developed a platform called the e-commerce platform for the industry. So 7 years ago, the industry, our board of governors, because we are governed by board, decided to say, well, can GS1 develop a digital platform where we could put all our product and we could pull the information out of the product? So we developed a standard around digital or e-commerce that was voted into our board of governance, and from there redistribute to what we call sector boards. So we do have a grocery and food service sector board, we do have a pharma board, we have a RX board, so on and so forth. So that's how we come to becoming a standard development, is based on the feedback that we get from the market. And I say industry, but from the market. And that's how we start to work and implement those type of standards. And I'll use the example of the e-commerce standard. The next pillar that we have is community manager. As community manager, we have account management team that works with the retailers or works with the manufacturer. And we basically, it's a strict community management and account management. That's one part of the community management. Also, we're here to support, like yourselves, association, and make sure that the standards are communicate to make sure that they are well aware in the marketplace of what is a standard. And from there also we educate. So we do webinar like we're doing today. We have training material. We do speaking engagement at different association if they have trade show. Our role is to educate. And from there we implement. What I mean by implement is that we have retailers and we have manufacturer, and we implement some of the technology either with a retailer or with a manufacturer. All in all, like you said, Heather, early, we're in the middle. We're not enforcing anything. We're just here to facilitate and make sure that the standards that were either developed at a global level, like a GTIN, or at a, I would say, a regional level, but at a country level, gets implemented in the marketplace to facilitate, all in all the process of the supply chain information and traceability of the products. Any questions? Nope. Okay, we'll go to the next slide, Annie. So yes. a little bit of what I just discussed is, as you can see, there's different services that a retailer may require. And you wonder, why should I go directly to the retailer? Why should I not go directly to the retailer? Well, you see that if I am a Coca-Cola, well, if I have a product, well, I need to have all those services for all the different retailers that look at those services. And I have to build a relationship to get that product information through that particular retailer. So that becomes a one-to-one relationship. So imagine a fairly large retailer where they have over 3,000 to 4,000 manufacturers within their own ecosystem. Start to manage all of that information coming to them becomes very, very cumbersome and a lot of labor intensive. If you want to go to the next slide. So what the role of GS1 does is become, like we said earlier, we become the middle person. So we collect all of that information into one central repository that we call ECCNet, or if you are more familiar with the term DAM or PIM, we have a Canadian PIM where we accumulate all that information, and each retailer now could go pull all that information out. And when I say pull all that information, and I want to be very, very clear, we are not getting engaged in the relationship between a brand owner and the retailer. That relationship, it's still the brand owners that owns that relationship to negotiate price, to negotiate volume rebate, to negotiate distribution. We are just here to accumulate the information about your product and supply chain information to make sure that the retailer is able to withdraw that information on a one-to-many model. And that is the one-to-many model here. So manufacturer put information into the ECC net or the registry, the DAM, the PIM in GS1. And after that, it's available to all the retailers that are in the GS1 system. So it doesn't mean that if you are a manufacturer and you are not listed at, let's say, Metro, that you cannot publish that information to all the retailers. I'm not saying that I guarantee you that you will get picked up by Metro, but the information is there. And especially if you recall the last 3 years, we've been in the pandemic and there was supply chain shortages. Well, a lot of the retailers were sourcing product within our own GS1 ecosystem. I'll give you a perfect example. I'm looking for strawberry jam. My current supplier of strawberry jam is out of jam, can't find jam, but it's a high volume item in my retail environment. I could go in the ECC1, not ECC1, but the GS1 system. I could put strawberry jam and it will pull all the strawberry jam that are in our system. At that point, if there's a manufacturer that was not a current vendor of that particular retailer, they may get a phone call from that particular retailer because the manufacturer decide to publish to all of the retailer in the GS1 system. Again, it's an option. I'm not saying it's best practice. I'm not saying you need to. It's an option to distribute your product to many more retailers than you have right now, because all the retailers in GS1 system will have access to your product if you publish to all versus just publishing directly. If you make, on the other side, if you are a manufacturer that makes a certain size for a certain retailer, well, you have the option to publish only to that particular retailer, that particular SKU, so nobody else in the marketplace would see that. So there is some retail environment where they have either special size, special flavors, and that the system gives you the flexibility. But here, what we're trying to demonstrate, it's the one-to-many. Easier for manufacturer to publish all the information into one registry, easier for a retailer to pull out of the registry all the information needed from that particular, instead of having those USB code into the mail or sending email to the buyer, or they call it category manager, to the category manager. And now the category manager has to resend that email to the marketing team at that particular retailer or at that digital team, and it gets lost into translation. So by using the GS1 ecosystem, they have access, it's the same information, and it's been validated by the manufacturer or the private label owner if you're a manufacturer private label. That's it. So the next slide.
Okay, Michel, thank you very much. Let's go into a little bit of the why and when for those of you that are not aware, and maybe some of you are. Why do you need a barcode? Barcode. Let's just talk 5 seconds about barcode. A GTIN, a global trade identification number, is the industry kind of term that's used. At the end of the day, if you call it a barcode or a UPC code, it is the same thing. So just to clarify, when do you need a barcode? To authenticate and to trace your product. Right from the get-go, it is important for people to identify, be able to trace that product. Retailers, as Michel just talked about, there's requirements that they need. You will have to get a barcode, a licensed, authentic barcode. Otherwise, you will be most likely sent back. And unfortunately, if you've gone beyond the scope and gone to printing or getting labels or packaging without a barcode or with maybe a not so legit barcode, you could run into some problems and some costly measures as a result of. From the marketplace standpoint, we've listed here Amazon. Amazon is now mandatory. It is now an obligation for products to be sold on Amazon to have GS1 barcodes. They have gone this route. They were not doing this before necessarily enforcing it, and as a result of the explosion of products being sold through Amazon and through marketplaces, they are opting to standardize the process, and we've basically made an agreement with them where we would supply all the GS1 barcodes for Amazon products in Canada. From a regulatory standpoint, you need to consider those as well. They could be municipal, they could be provincial, they are obviously federal regulations. And to give you an example, just a couple of examples, in New Brunswick recently, they've added a sugar tax on some of the products. And so that sugar tax will have to be captured once that barcode is passed through that POS or that scanner at the retailer. And so you need a barcode, and you need to have that information easily captured on that barcode. Same applies for direct deposits with recycling in Quebec. There's a deposit, 5 cents and 10 cents, that's been charged for a number of years in Quebec. They're increasing that kind of recycling deposit stage to 100 mil and 200 mil plastic and glass containers. Again, that information needs to be captured somewhere, and that barcode is going to need to capture that. From an inventory management standpoint, same thing at the management or at the manufacturer level, right through the supply chain, be it distributors, co-packing, co-manufacturers. The barcode is just about essential to be able to track that all the way through the supply chain and at the retailer. From a small business support standpoint, some of the things we've introduced last year are flexible subscription options. And talking to Heather before, that might still not be good enough for some of you out there, and we'll review those in a couple of seconds. We talked about education. We're really putting together a lot of education modules, training and online training modules to help educate small business and new entrepreneurs get to market. We have some insights and tips as well. Here's a quick look at what was introduced over the last year in terms of focusing on small business. And you can start off as basic as an individual package, all the way up to what we call bundles, which we bundle different services, again, depending on how many barcodes you're going to need, the size of your operation, and where you feel you are and where you feel you're going to be. And there's different options that were introduced that were not available in GS1 prior to last year. From an educational standpoint, we're doing webinars, hence what we're doing here today. We've started to do more and more webinars for groups, organizations, associations, trade shows, speaking engagements as well. And so that's become a very, very much part of our initiatives. We offer the resources. We have the resources available, and we are open to sharing those resources to get you up and going. Online training and videos, which is what we talked about. We've introduced a trade readiness certification program, which I shared with Candice and Heather earlier on this year, and you have an opportunity there. We're coupled with the federal government's Agri Assurance Program, and there's some great training material there. You can save a few bucks once you're a new subscriber or a recent subscriber, and to take advantage of that program as well. Some insights and tips. We are doing quite a bit of work with small business opportunities directly on our website. We did receive comments from you that our website is not always as easy to navigate as one would like it to be. We're very much aware of that. We continue to work quite hard on bettering the site, making it a little bit easier, getting small business right into the pages and the information that they're going to need to bring their products to market. And so that is an initiative that is ongoing. We're also looking at putting some business advisory communities. Any one of you who would like to be part of those communities to share your experiences, share your challenges, your pain points, we're very much open in putting some groups together, which have initiated over the last month or so. Government grants, as I mentioned, we work with in accordance with government agri assurance, agriculture plans that are in the making, and that we obviously support those as well in terms of our implication. We also like to hear about small business success stories. which is important. It's a plus for us, obviously a plus for the small business and entrepreneurs. Any success stories you'd like to share, we are very open to putting in through our media platforms and promoting as such. We're very, very much interested in that as well. Lastly, little initiative we put together just to give you an example of what we've done at trade shows. Again, starting last year, we are at the Canadian Health Food Association trade show in Toronto. We put some cards together where you had an opportunity to scan this QR code, and again, it takes you right to the small business pages, gives you insight on what you would need to get going. So again, from an introductory standpoint, excuse me, or even for those that are already or planning to get to market or wanting to get into business, we offer these types of things to get you in there and get you rolling as fast as possible. So that concludes our little tidbit for now. Heather, I'd like to send it back to you and go through some of the questions that your group may have.
So I think, you know, if I could speak to all the members or the members that are on here right now, I want to make something really clear. When Alain is talking about the barcode, if you're dealing with small retailers, you don't need to worry. You've got your barcode and it'll be fine. What we're mostly talking about is the majors that require the photos, that require all of this, the costly stuff that a lot of you are just struggling or it's not happening. So I don't want you worrying that your other barcodes or what you're doing is not all of it's all okay. So it's just a matter of whether you're going to go bigger or whether you're just going to stay out of the majors, because if it is too cost prohibitive, that's it. But what Alain has offered here, if you've got a question, it doesn't get answered, I've put Alain's email in the chat down below there. So if you go right down to the below and you open that up, you'll see where is it? It's here somewhere.
There you go, Heather.
There we are. So you can always email Alain, and what he's going to do is he will find an advisor that knows about that issue and they will call you. Alain, do I have that correct?
Sure. We can gladly do that to start off and get you on the right track. If I don't have the information, I'll certainly try and get it for you. And if I can't, I will lead you in the direction so that you are well serviced.
So your questions are going to be answered. And I'm still in the loop, so I want you to keep me in the loop as much as you need me, whatever. I just want to make that really clear. So does anybody have a question right now? You can actually press the hand as well on your, because I can't see all of you.
I've got a question, if I might.
Great, Chris, shoot.
Chris, I'm Chris Beal from Fume Gourmet. We have a line of smoked olives and tapenades that we've been producing for about, thanks Heather, for 5 years now. We signed in for the, the basic package when we first started up for the 10 barcode. And that worked great for us up until last summer, where we needed additional barcodes. And I wrote into GS1 and was told, I noticed in your presentation now there's an option to add 10 more, which is great. At the time in the summer, we weren't allowed that option. We had to upgrade and purchase the $500 small business package at the same, as well as keeping our 10 barcodes. My question really is, now that this additional 10 barcode package can be done, can we switch back to that and not have this $750 annual bill to manage all those barcodes? And actually, the second question in relation to that, when we did ask to have the additional barcodes, we couldn't keep the 10 that we had unless we maintained both memberships. We had to purchase the $500 one and the 10 barcode one to maintain those first 10 barcodes that we originally had.
Yeah, so I'll take that one. And if you want to stop sharing, so we have a better view of everyone, so we could see everyone at the same time. So Chris, thank you for your question. A couple of things comes to mind, right and foremost, and I know one of them is part of our educational program. When a small organization start, it's really hard to forecast how many product you'll have in the marketplace. And I do understand that, and every dollar counts. As an entrepreneur, I totally understand that. But when you get to GS1, the answer you got to GS1 is totally correct. Having said that, there is a way to help you here. Because you are at the $500 level, you have multiple barcode now. I'm assuming you have up to 100 barcodes. They gave you probably a prefix that is a 9-digit prefix that gives you the opportunity to have up to 100 barcode.
Yeah.
Even though you don't need them. So
I just need 11.
Yeah, exactly. So now we have the option of the additional, what we call 10 pack that we did not have at your time. So there's a couple of options that we could take with you separately that I could walk you through. But that's why I'm saying it's very important when you start, and I understand that every dollar is count. But the answer is once you identify your product with that barcode, that product is identified in our system with that barcode. The only way we could unidentify it at the end of the day, and that's where the incremental costs come, and that's why it's so important to plan. It's because you need to let your inventory to deplete with the old barcode, your sticker and your product, and after that you will need to re-barcode that product with the new one that you have. But that's, again, incremental cost to you, because sometimes entrepreneurs say, well, I had a good deal with the printer and I print many of them, and now I have a couple of years of inventory or a couple of months or whatever. So the critical piece is when you start as an entrepreneur is to look at your business case and really look, okay, how am I going to grow and how many barcodes do I need? And it's a critical path. But if you want to talk to Alain, and we could talk offline, Chris, I could help you to fix it so you don't have to pay the $750, and we could leave you at the 500. Or if you need to just go, you say, well, I'm never going to get more than 30. Well, we'll figure it out, but we could help you.
Yeah.
But what you got at the start from GS1 is actually right, because your product's been identified in our system with those first 10. And that's why in our new training material, and I know, like I said, it's an entrepreneur and every dollar is count, but it's critical to see, okay, how many do I need and how do I go at it?
Yeah, no, I get it. Sometimes the crystal ball's pretty foggy when you're starting out. And,
absolutely. And like I said,
we didn't even know if we were going to grow outside of making products from our home. And now we're in a kitchen.
And that is that's a great common thing, Chris, to mention.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's great. That answers my question. I mean, we certainly don't need 500 barcodes right now, or any more than probably 20. So going down to 10 with additional 10 on top would probably be great for us.
Yeah, so call Alain and we'll get on the phone together, the three of us, and we'll figure it out and we'll help you. No issue.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Michel. So Bhaskar, you have a question. You can unmute yourself, sir. Can't hear you. Bhaskar, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you. No, we cannot hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Shoot. Go for it.
Yeah, so it's Bhaskar from Dakshas Gourmet Spices. We've been in business for over 30 years. We've been a GS1 member for 28 years. Over the years, we've grown quite a bit. We haven't had any issues in using the barcodes, because when we joined, it was almost unlimited, the number of barcodes we had. So, but we're very happy about that. I love that last year you folks actually innovated and helped folks that only need a few SKUs. But going to the ECC net when it came out, we tried to engage with GS1 on 2 separate occasions after we went to seminars to put our products onto ECC net so we could expose our company nationwide and internationally. we found it extremely difficult to communicate with the folks at GS1. And it was first off, phone, leave a message. Phone again, leave a message. Somebody contacts us by email and, oh, you're talking to the wrong department. You got to go somewhere else. So then we found out that we need to present images. So we were given an address in Montreal to submit our images. We engaged with them via email, very little communication back, went back and searched your hornet's nest on GS1 to find out how much it would cost. Finally, we found out the cost, and it was cost prohibitive for us to put up our 28 different SKUs. So my question right now is, if we want to submit our product to ECCnet, and we send it to, I don't know whether it's Calgary or whether it's Montreal now, the imaging center, do they take the images? Do they document the dimensions? Do they document the weights? And when we have an individual SKU, we also have a wholesale SKU, and then we also have a master pack. So we've got GTIN numbers for all three. So when we submit for one individual item for individual, wholesale, and master pack, and we have 27 items, when we get quoted for one image, does that, for one product, does that include the wholesale pack and the master pack? Or do we have to pay for each individual image and for each individual weight and dimension?
Okay, so a couple of things. Thank you for your question. Apologize that you had a hard time to reach the GS1 Canada. I'm very sorry about that, because that's not what we're striving for. That we will address. We could help you. That's not a problem. As for the pricing for the image, it all depends on the requirement of the trading partner. So when we say trading partner, is the retailer. If they require just a marketing image, that's one set of price. If they're requesting e-commerce image, well, that's another set of price. Having said that, ECCnet is a different than the imaging. ECCnet is something that you go and put all your product information in there. You put all your measurement that you know in there yourself. Having said that, when you send your product to our facility in Montreal, we will measure your product and we will adjust those measurements if they're not correct. Because obviously, as a retailer, my shelf is a certain length and it's not bigger and it's not smaller, it's a length. So we need to make sure that there is standardized approach. In our price, depending on the service that you choose, you will have some of the work that's already done. So as an example, if you say we're going for the marketing image, well, I will take all the image. That's one price for all the image per product. Again, we are just basically respecting what the trade partner requires us to do, or their requirement between you and the retailers. We are just doing the work from a retailer standpoint, what they're doing. The reason why they decided to go with GS1, it's because we are an organization that will standardize and normalize the information. So being non-for-profit, that you are your company, sorry, I didn't get the name of your company, but that you are a Coca-Cola, well, I don't see the difference for me, because I need to do the same work for Coke that I do for you. So there's no competition. So I'm not going to favor one versus the other. And after that, the retailer decide on the strategy that they want to do with their own product. We're just there to distribute the image and the content that is on your product through the registry. And from there, the retailer takes it on themselves to build their own strategy and build the image. And you negotiate if you want to have your product in an ad or no ad or marketing or whatever. So we're not involved in there. We just basically pass the information. As for ECCnet, if you need help, again, communicate with Alain. We will support you. We have consulting services that you say, okay, here's the 28 SKU. I want you to put them in our system and we'll do it for you. And Like I said, we're non-for-profit, so I'm not here to make profit. It costs me what it costs me to do, and we charge you. But we're here to help and support for sure.
Thank you. But Bhaskar, does that answer your question?
You're on mute again.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. So if we, I'm sure I'm thinking from my previous research on GS1 that we are able to submit to GS1 registry and also GS1 ECC net our own images, our own dimensions, and our own weights. Now, we submit those, upload them. When you folks peruse them, there's that inspection criteria. And if it gets rejected, do we get an analysis of why it's rejected? And when we correct the issues and resubmit, is there an additional fee?
No. So there's no additional fee. So we have only one fee. So if your product gets rejected, first and foremost, when you're going to go to what we call the system ProSync that puts the product into the registry, that system has validation rule already embedded. So if the information is not correct, it will give you an error message right away, and it will tell you which field to go correct. So that's the first thing that it's good. And that's done manually through going through our system. When we receive a product to our facility in Montreal and the information that we see is not the same information that is in ECCNet, we will let you know. So we will communicate through you through an email to say, we changed the measure in your system because let's say you had 4 centimeters wide and it was 3. We will correct it to 3 because we put it on our calibration table, but we will let you know that your information in the system got changed because we had to measure it properly. If it's a minimal change, we won't communicate to the manufacturer because it's minimal. So if it's, let's say 3.2 and you put down 3.5, we'll do the 3.2 and that's it. We will adjust accordingly. But if I don't receive the product, I won't make the correction. So in our system, it will be 3.5 until I receive the information or receive the product where I could do the work. But there's no double pay. If there's a mistake, the price is the price. And that's it. We correct and we move on. And that was one of the questions in the chat as well that I saw. So if your project get rejected in Montreal, you're not repaying again. It's one price. We correct it. We work together to make the correction. And after that, you could publish your product or distribute your product to the retailers.
Great. Thank you very much. So, and Michelle just mentioned, if you want to put your questions in the chat, some of you have done that, they'll answer while we're talking. So thank you very much, Bhaskar and Michelle. And yeah. Harvey, I'm so sorry that I don't know all my members, but it says Harvey.
It's Susan. It's Susan Snow.
Hi, Susan.
Oh, hi. It's my husband's Zoom. We're a primary producer. So we were away for a month and came back to a lovely email from the Pattison group saying that we have to register all of our products with GS1. So Heather's email last week for this meeting was rather timely. And I have been able to get a hold of, I think it's Anthony Shakaran.
Yeah.
Who is the lead, I guess, for Pattison. But it's still a little bit confusing. It seems that we aren't on his list of people that are supposed to be submitting. And I'm not quite sure how this is all going to work because we're not a packaged product. So like we sell wholesale, like 50-pound boxes of cabbage and 24-pound or 24-pack lettuce and those kinds of things. So yeah, we're kind of new into this game, and it sounds like by the end of this year, the primary producers of produce are going to have to be into this program as well. And I would much rather do it now when I still have time and we're not in the field yet, than trying to get it done when we're in our scary season.
No, and I totally understand. So the letter that you see from the Patterson Group was a generic letter that's sent to all their vendors. So you were not singled out. It was just a generic letter, all their vendors. What they're looking for is mainly consumer packaged goods. So if you have I'll use mushroom because I work in the mushroom business in the past.
Yeah.
If you have an 8-ounce cup of mushroom, well, that's a UPC code under. So you need to have to send it to us, and we'll take the pictures of that. Not an issue. But in your case, I would call back the Patterson Group and say, do I need to do what you're asking me to do for the GS1? Because it's mainly on, I would say, consumer packaged good, like packaged product. So
I went back to them, and this is where it gets interesting. They told me yes. So the deadline to have it completed was March 3rd, last Friday. And so they've given me until the end of this month to have all of our products entered.
So when they say they want your product, they want to have a 50-pound case of I don't know, like broccoli in the system. System. Okay. Do you have a barcode for each of those packages?
Not for the master package, but I do and I have individual packaging, whether it's a twist tie or a butt tag for lettuce or for cabbage or bands.
So is it a PLU or a UPC code? Because in fresh it's a PLU, so it's a 4-digit code.
They're both. We're organic, so we're a 5-digit.
So you're 5 digits. So it's a PLU that you have 5 digit. It's not a UPC code, correct?
We have both. So on our twist ties, we have a barcode, and the same with all of any of our individual packaging. It all has UPCs as well.
So you could put that product into ECC Net, and that would basically get the requirement of the Patterson Group. So you could
and high ties, and probably high ties as well.
Yeah, well, you could distribute after. Once it's done once, you could redistribute to all the retailers that is in our system. So it's up to you. So again, I think if you want to call Alain, we could talk to you separately because it's going to take a little bit of time, and I don't want to get the time, and we'll fix it. That's not an issue. Okay, absolutely not. So it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Samantha, thank you for waiting. What's your question? And you can unmute yourself. Lovely. Hi.
Hi. So with our business, we're food consultants. And so we've worked with actually a lot of the membership with SSFPA, as well as other people who aren't members, and a lot of entrepreneurs. And we do the product development, standardizing. So when you're talking standardizing, you're speaking our language. But of course, with entrepreneurs, where they may not have any or very limited experience in the food system, because they may come from any industry, but they want to make something, they make it really well, and they want to expand. Can you address some of the risks associated with not getting their barcodes from a legitimate source? Because when we tell them, they're going, oh, you're just trying to sell us something. And I'm going, no, we're not getting anything out of this, but it's trying to to understand that return on the investment for the business itself. So could you address some of those risks? Because I've heard, well, it can't be that bad.
Absolutely, there's no problem there. So the first thing is that I'm not going to deny there is reseller of barcode out there in the marketplace at a lot cheaper price. So that I will give it to you. That's absolutely no issue. Here's where the complexity is. If you want to have a legitimate, and when I say legitimate, it's a standardized barcode. If you buy a barcode from a third-party seller, that barcode is already a GS1 barcode somewhere in the world and potentially be associated with a product already in the world. If you have a recall, because Health Canada, if you are in the food business, Health Canada requires you to have a legitimate barcode, because if there's an issue with that particular food product and Health Canada needs to make a recall, they will call that barcode owners, because that barcode owner in a global system is owned by somebody. And if that somebody is not you, they will not send you an email, and your product could be damaging health-wise for consumer or not. And I'll give you a perfect example. We were working with a large general merchandise retailer, big orange guy. I won't say who it is, but it's a big orange guy, fairly large national retailer into the hardware supply and general merchandise. They were using GS1 barcode, and one of the barcode was referring to a bakery in Vancouver, and it was for fence. So you could imagine that the fence person producing the wood for fence goes, well, I bought it online. Yes, but if there's a problem with the treatment of your wood and there's a recall, we will recall it from the bakery in Vancouver because the bakery is the legitimate owner of the barcode. So that creates a little bit of animosity, and it's all about the traceability. The reason why when Alain said Amazon requires a GS1 barcode, it's for the authentication of the organization and also traceability of the organization. They want to make sure that the product that is attached to that item is actually the product that is attached to that item. So it will avoid counterfeit product. And I always use the Gucci bag. If you buy a Gucci bag, you want to make sure you buy a Gucci bag, not a Gucci bag that has the same GTIN or the same UPC code, but you have a manufacturer that basically just do the same thing, but call it Gucci, or you don't see it and it's the same legitimate. So that is the really, really good reason why you need to have that. If you buy it and you do, I've been in business for 10 years and I've never had any problem. Absolutely. A 12-digit code will scan at every store. It's a 12-digit code, not a problem. But suddenly your business is expanding and now you come to a legitimate, well, not legitimate, but to a major retailer in Canada, and now they want you to have the GS1 license certificate. And now you won't be able to have it. And maybe you have a lot of inventory already of that product because you've been selling it to smaller retailers where nobody was scanning it. And suddenly you are becoming to a major retailer in your region. And now they're asking you for the GS1 certificate. GS1 will deny it because it's not a legitimate barcode. So that will incur incremental cost for the manufacturer. And part of our new education program is to educate vendors and manufacturers to take a little bit of a step back and say, okay, how many do I really need? Do I really need to go and make a GS1 purchase? Do I need to make sure that I have all my image? Do I want to make sure that I have all the validation rules? Because our system is connected, well, not connected, but we respect everything that is Health Canada regulated, especially in food right now. There is a deadline for the end of the year for all NFT panel to be revised with the new law, and that's vitamin A. That's already embedded in our system. So we do work very closely with government to make sure that all those laws are embedded in our system. So that's why you need to have a GS1, because I'll say GS1, I didn't say GS1 Canada, because if you sold in the US first and you purchase your barcode in the US, that barcode is a GS1 barcode. It's good in Canada too. So you don't need to repurchase a license for GS1 Canada. Your product, a GS1 barcode, is good worldwide. So you don't have to worry if you sold in, I don't know, if you sold in another European country first and you purchase your barcode from a European GS1, that barcode is good, no problem.
So that's the point. No, you did. And Michelle, and sorry, I didn't mean to step on the end of your sentence. If you're dealing with small stores, it's not going to be a problem, probably whatever barcode you have.
Correct.
But when you're planning to grow, and if you want to get near the majors, you can't do it unless you have a proper GS1 barcode. That's the black and white of it all. So you could want to keep your business small and you just want to do the specialty stores and all of that. You don't want to go to the big majors. You'll probably be fine. But as soon as you want to go to those, you're going to have to redo everything. So it's just to keep in mind where do you want to go with your business? That's where you have to backtrack and figure it out.
Absolutely. And I would say, Heather, I'll add, it's more than just the majors, because we have retailer in our system that only have 5 locations. And I'll use Organic Garage as an example. They only have 5 locations in Toronto, and they're using GS1 as a source of truth.
Right.
We had in Ottawa, Country Grocer, that was a one store, one shop. So there is, depending on where you sell, they may require you to have a GS1 barcode, or they may not. But just so you know, we have over 80 retailers in our system, from fairly large major to mom and pop or more one location, because we're very affiliated with another association that support independent retailers. So there's a lot of independent retailer out there that are using GS1 as a single source of truth.
So, okay, now actually, Vivian, thank you for that. Vivian had a great question. I don't know if it was, but it's, what is the difference between a GTIN, and that's a global
Trade
trade
identification.
identifying number, thank you, versus a company prefix license? Which one do we need for what situations? Great question, Vivian.
Absolutely. So a GTIN is a identifier for the product. So like a UPC code. Part of that UPC code, you have a prefix that is embedded into that GTIN. So if you have and I'll use Bhaskar because he said he has unlimited, so I could tell you that he has a 6-digit prefix in his barcode. So the first 6 numbers of his barcode are his company identifier, and we call that a prefix. The other 6, basically, Bhaskar has the right to do 99,999 product. Those are his product identifier. So the prefix is there to identify the organization, the company, and the next digit are the 6th digit for Bhaskar is item number. We have prefix that are 9-digit to give you 100 barcodes, and so on and so forth, to a maximum of a 6-digit prefix that gives you 99,999 product availability.
Great. So thank you for that. Yoselin had a question. GS1 charges based on gross revenue and number of barcodes? Question.
Absolutely. So the reason we're doing, and there's exception. I'll mention exception. There is exception, but as a rule of thumb, we charge by the revenue of the organization and the numbers of barcode. Here's the reason why. I could have, and we know that we have manufacturers that have a very limited amount of SKU, but they're billion-dollar organization. It would not be fair to charge them $150 for 10 barcode when they know they only going to have 5. They operate with 5, and they're not going to make it 5. So the variable is the numbers of GTIN and the revenue of the organization. Having said that, I'll reverse it the other way around. I'm in my home, I do jewelry, and I do a lot of jewelry. I do hearing, I do bracelet, I do necklace. I will need more than 5 barcode, but my revenue is less than 100 grand. So that's why if you have those types of organization that you feel that the price or your SKU is not matching what we are, please call us. We'll work with you. There's no issue on that perspective. But as a rule of thumb, for us to be able to rule on our portal, we will ask you your revenue, and we will ask you for the numbers of product that you have. In general, it works pretty well. We don't have any problem. And when you're looking at a multi-billion-dollar organization, the maximum they will pay is $1,500 a year for a prefix of 6 that gives you $99,999. So item. So it's pretty fair, but there is exception. I'm not going to deny us, and I would strongly recommend, if you're part of those exception, please call us. We'll help you. We'll work with you.
Because I think GS1 has realized that the small guy is going to go away if these aren't. And that's why Alain and Michelle are here, because they want to try and reach you so that they can get the data to go back and say, this is the pulse of what's really going on. And so I thank you all for your comments. Does anybody else have one? Does anyone just want to put their hand up? I'm just seeing one more here. Bhaskar, you've got another question?
Yeah, I do. And actually, it might be a point of interest for all the other members as well. With us being members of GS1, we do a lot of market research, and we go into the supermarkets and look at all the different products that are on the brand. I take photographs of them and I bring them back to my office, and I specifically photograph the GTIN numbers. And I have gone onto GS1 website and I have put in the company prefix number. and it tells me where the company is located and what their headquarters are. So I know that that barcode or GTIN number actually belongs to that company and they're represented on that product that they're selling. So for us small scale food processors that want to buy on the open market barcodes, do the research first and contact Michael or Elaine and find out, hey, is this company a legit company in the food processing business? And then that way you won't have to backtrack and redo all of your labels, etc. Just my comments from my history with GS1.
Okay. Thank you, Bhaskar. Does anyone have any other questions? And Michelle or Elaine, would you like to have any last words there?
Well, my own.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to mention first and foremost, thank you, Heather, for your support there and giving us the opportunity to talk to your organization, your association. And if you have issues, you have 2-3 contacts. Linda's been very quiet. She's here to fly on the wall. But I mean, you've got 3 people here from GS1 that is here to help and support you. And again, I receive, Alain, forward you your message earlier, your email. We do recognize that sometimes our call center is not as proactive as they are, and I do apologize for that. We will help you. And I do recognize as well that our website is very, very busy. We're working very actively internally to reduce as much as possible, but like every organization, we have our own internal battle also to fight, but we're working to simplify our website. But we're here to help and support. And if we need to do another call like this to answer question, absolutely, we're here. We have great educational material, and we welcome anything that you throw ourselves, and we're here to help you. And the people that I said to communicate to Alain, I meant it. Please call us. We'll help you one-on-one, no issue. Alain, sorry, I'll pass it by to you.
No, it's fine. No, appreciate it, Michelle. And I was exactly going to mention that. Heather and I and Candace have talked about subsequent sessions. If there's anything that we are going to be able to do to get into more specific, Bhaskar, we really appreciate your comments. You're an experienced GS1 subscriber. If we need for some of you to get in a little bit deeper onto how things work, be it on the registries or being on the product launches, tips, advisory tips, we're very open to doing a subsequent session to be able to address those a little bit more specific than general. You have to understand, I mean, this presentation was about 15 minutes with about 7-8 slides. We could put a 40-slide presentation for you together and go through A to Z. What we're trying to do is break it down, and especially with a session like today, break it down a little bit more in smaller chunks and then go back if we need to do something after. Too much information, it's the old, less is more type of deal. At the end of the day. So we're really open to it. We reached out, you accepted, we're here today. And if there's anything else that we can help with, we can obviously take that either on a one-on-one offline or do subsequent sessions for you. It's our pleasure.
Thank you, Elaine. That is wonderful. Now we have your email, Elaine. Should we get Michelle and Linda? I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were with GS1. Yeah. Is that another member? I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't know. She's one of us. I actually, and Linda, I do apologize. I meant to introduce you at the beginning, but I got caught with our VP friend, and no disrespect, and I was going to finish up with that. Linda's been a quiet observer of ours, and she does these webinars with us. She gathers a lot of valuable information for us, and we go back and work on the presentations to see what we did right, what we can improve, and work on those pain points. So Linda, thank you very much.
Yeah, so if you want my contact, Heather, it's the same thing, the same format. So it's michelle.boucher@gs1.org. Sorry, I don't even know, but gs1ca.org. So we all use the same format, first name, last name, GS1 Canada at .org.
GS1ca.
GS1ca, exactly.
It's a great email. So if any of you, may I ask this just before we all go, is there any one of you that if there's a specific thing that someone's going to ask and you kind of go, oh no, that would always be a Linda question, or that's always going to be a Michelle, would there be something like that, or
let me, I think for expediency let me be the conduit right now, or either through you, Heather, much like we've been doing.
Either way,
And,
yeah.
and if I don't know, okay, just as a point of contact, let's keep it more simple. If I need to get Michelle involved, I'll get Michelle involved. If it's a Linda question, I'm noticing a trade certification program question in the chat. Linda's our specialist, in this regard. That I would get Linda involved and stuff like that because she's spearheading this project.
All right.
So, but I could be sort of the navigator in there in determining, much like we've done to date. I've gotten the health center involved on some of your members and they've contacted them directly. Laura and I had a discussion yesterday. So depending on the matter and the issue, I think I can navigate it proper avenues.
Wonderful.
Can I just throw something in just quickly, Heather?
Yes.
My previous life before we started to farm, I was a mid-30s decision. I worked in a call center years ago. And one of the things that I noticed when I call in to the 1-800 number is that it's very difficult. There isn't enough time that you allot for somebody to speak the person's name that they're looking for. And you also might want to look at maybe not including a last name or even an initial, because it's very difficult. Like the fellow that I had to contact, he has a very difficult last name to pronounce. And when you're trying to pronounce the last name, the automated service can't get the name of the person that you're looking for. So it might be something allowing a longer period of time. Yeah.
The spelling becomes a challenge as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a frustration. To be honest, I phoned 17 times to be able to get the automated service to be able to understand my pronunciation of his last name.
So, yeah, no, absolutely, you're right. So I will take a note from that and I will communicate back to our call center. There's no issue there. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Susan. Actually, Alicia had a great question. When will we find out if we've been selected to participate in the trade readiness certification program? Certification.
So I will defer that one to Linda.
and I will second that.
It usually takes no more than 5 days. So if it's been over 5 days, feel free to reach out to Alain and he will remind me. But it's usually no more than 5 business days, just because our reporting system lags a bit. But yeah, if you have any questions or you're not sure we got it, please let me know. Or please let Alain know and it will contact me.
Thank you. So any last words? All right, listen, I can't tell you how much I appreciate both of you coming on and listening to the members. I think that's the basic thing, is they just have been feeling like they're not being heard because they're small. And
Right.
we really appreciate that you're here and that your ears are open and that you're going to try and do your best. It's a big organization, and so we're the David to the Goliath, but we're going to see what we can do here. And we really appreciate your receipt of all of our questions and all of that. So thank you.
Wonderful.
Pleasure.
It was great meeting you all.
Absolutely.
Thanks everybody for coming. Really appreciate it. The only way we're going to get things solved is if we have conversation and we keep it going. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, everybody, and have a great
Bye-bye.
afternoon. Thank you kindly. Bye.
I know.